Lomsan seo Sinead Goldrick, Imrar Bhla Cliath, agus 7 All-Star Recce, Cara Crave na hair and Asicela. Sinead, it's wonderful to have you here. Thanks a million for coming to talk to us, and obviously a big weekend ahead of you with Melbourne as well.
Yeah, thanks a million for having me on. And yeah, we're playing our third round match tomorrow. Yeah, we're just really excited for it. Niamh's on the team. So both of us are just kind of at home here, just waiting, can't wait for tomorrow and the match to kick off.
And I suppose it's interesting with Niamh McAvoy over there now, you're definitely bringing up the Dublin contingent, and Lauren McGee has joined in. What's it been like, Sinead, having 3 of you over there and a good contingent of Dubliners?
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. And I think we're getting along, brilliant. And I think also we're all like-minded people, if you know what I mean. So when we want to be serious and focus on our skills away from the team, we do it together, and then also we can have a laugh. And I think I suppose a lot of Melbourne AFLW know what a few of the Dubs are like now, because there's 3 of us with, different personalities and stuff like that. And I think we're all kind of fitting really in well with the team. Yeah, it's just a great opportunity for us.
And there's a lot of history with the Dubs, with Jim Steins having been there as well as a player, and over 260 games I was reading there. But definitely it's a big welcome, I'm sure, that you've gotten, and they're delighted to have such a calibre player come over again.
Yeah, we would have heard about Jim Steins before, going over here, and then obviously you're chatting to more people. Just the reputation and respect and what he's done in Melbourne is massive, and especially to the club, everyone just speaks so highly of him. Also Brian Steins, his brother, and we've gone over to their house for dinner and stuff, so he just invited us over. So it's just really nice, and especially when you're not away and you're talking to people from Dublin, there's also that deeper connection too. So it's really good. But everyone just has the best words to say about Jim and what he's done over here.
And how have you found this season settling back in? I suppose the change again, Sinead, from an All-Ireland champion, player of the match on the day in Croke Park, but how has it been to change back into AFLW and the new skills again?
Yeah, I think a positive thing with the quarantine was that just you could fully invest your mindset into, AFLW in terms of watching the game, and you could really kind of focus in on your skills. And we had a lot of Zooms with our managers. And again, I watched a lot of games, a lot of the AFL games and previous AFLW games, just to really kind of invest in the game. So coming from lockdown and the 2 weeks into it, it was a little bit easier. But then, our first training session hit and you get the knock again and it bounces the ball. So you're soon back into reality that it's a uphill kind of battle to try and get used to everything. But I think one thing I'm kind of trying to do with my mindset is just to focus on one simple thing. And then once that is, just, improve on to the next, but not to come over with huge expectations, just kind of focus on what I need to do for the team and the simple things. So that's kind of how I'm approaching it.
And Sinead, in game 1 you had a brilliant win against the Gold Coast Suns, and obviously a great win against Richmond in round 2. Has that been something that you would have expected, I suppose, or would you have known a lot about those teams before playing them?
Yeah, I think so. Richmond and the Gold Coast are kind of new teams this year, so they've only maybe been around for 2 years. So they're more I suppose going into the game, we felt that we should be in a position to kind of get over the line here. Both of those teams have a kind of quite similar game in terms there's a lot of crowded around congestion around the ball. So we needed to kind of counteract that with good and fast movement. And kind of now into our third game, we're going against North Melbourne, who are definitely perhaps regarded as one of the best teams in the league at the moment. So it is a step up. So we'll just kind of, I think this will be a good game to test us, to see what are where we can improve, what our challenges are, and kind of where we stand within the ladder. So we can't wait, and we've learned a lot of things kind of from those 2 games. So we're just really excited to kind of see where we are and get tested against a kind of huge rival of Melbourne, against North Melbourne. Yeah.
And it's going to be a little bit of Dublin versus Mayo as well, with Aileen Gilroy there. I'm sure the old home rivalries will kick in, Sinead, as well.
Yeah, that will never fade. It's always going to be there. But even last year we met Aileen Gilroy, she's lovely, and over here she plays running back. I'd even watch her games to try and learn from her, because she's a really good running back. So but I know when that ball goes in, you'll just be you'll have your Melbourne jersey on, and it'll be a good test. But yeah, there is that extra rivalry, I suppose, when you're going up against Southern Mayo.
And Sinead, just mentioned, I suppose, with the terminology and with the different skills from it, there would have been where we'd read up on the games after you played the Suns, you know, on dispossessions or where you're bringing for the mark. Have you found it difficult to get into that terminology, or is it something, I suppose, with the training that just comes naturally now?
Yeah, I know there's like a kind of huge focus, I suppose, on those stats and kind of what, you know, that's being produced. But I think I would really just kind of focus on in terms of what my role for the team is, and you're kind of given one or two things. So that might be, you know, getting behind the ball and not touching it or marking someone. So I think, you know, that's terminology. It's kind of, you know, possessions is the same as disposals, the mark is catching it, you know. So I think for me, I don't really kind of focus on those elements. You know, you look at them afterwards, but it's just kind of being told, you know, you have a role to do these 3x things, and it's just kind of how you execute it. I do find kind of, I think the mark a huge one to get, just with the high ball coming in. You know, in my kind of role as a back is one thing that I'm really trying to improve on. But I wouldn't really kind of focus on the stats at the moment yet.
Well, you've certainly impressed with your stats at home in Ireland. You've been nominated as Senior Players Player of the Year, Sinead, with the announcement we made at the end of February. So I'm sure it must be nice to hear a message like that from home, but definitely great memories of last year as well, and a huge win for Dublin again.
Yeah, like we got it kind of after training, and I suppose it just brings you back to the fact that we won the All-Ireland and kind of those memories. And you know, I think Carla Rowe for me would have been the Player of the Year with Dublin. And I think her attitude, not only was she amazing on the pitch, but what she did at training and the energy she brought. You know, we always kind of have someone that you nominate and, you know, who you think is the best players for Dublin. So she'd be mine. And I hope, you know, obviously it's great for both of us to get there. It's, you know, something you're proud of. But yeah, it was just nice. It brought back memories of us winning the All-Ireland, and kind of the journey we went through, especially going through COVID. You know, it does feel that All-Ireland does feel a bit different than the others because of the fact there was a pandemic, and you know, we all were kind of there through, like, helping each other throughout that. So it did bring back really good memories.
And Sinead, what was it like? I think it was kind of rushed from what I was reading up of you leaving and yourself and Eve going back home again. What was that experience like, and trying to get back into playing Gaelic football again?
Yeah, because we had a match that weekend against the Eagles, and we kind of wanted to stay because there was actually a few injuries on in the team, so they had to bring someone, like draft someone up, because we had so many players, and then that we were going to have to leave too. So they were didn't have enough players to play, you know, for the extra subs. So we wanted to stay, but then they just were like, rang us a few times being like, no, you have to go home. We don't want you guys stuck over here. And I suppose looking at the time, I didn't want to go. I wasn't too happy. But looking back, it just kind of shows a culture that Melbourne have. They really care for you. And then for us, myself and Eve, we were kind of then back into lockdown. You really saw, you know, what was going on, and it was kind of just, yeah, a whirlwind. But I suppose you just saw there's a lot of other different things happening in the world. So you just kind of were happy to be at home, safe with the family.
And Sinead, what's it like over there now with COVID, and currently what's the situation?
Yeah, so just like an hour ago, it had announced that Melbourne is going into 5-day lockdown, and so our matches from tomorrow will be from closed doors, all in Victoria. Everyone, I suppose, it's just a 5-day lockdown, so you're not allowed out. You have to be in a 5k radius, and you're only allowed out for essential work, exercise, and if you're a caregiver. But I suppose seeing that and people here being like, oh, we're in a 5-day lockdown, like, it's crazy because you know what everyone's going through at home, and you know, you realize that we're still in a very lucky position, and they only have, I think it was 13 cases, and so that was the reason that we went into lockdown. So it just shows you how important context is, because you know, people here, I understand why they think it's a big deal, but when you know what everyone's going through in Ireland, you know, you're just like, it'll be fine.
And Sinead, do you find you get really engrossed in it with the busy training schedule, with the, I suppose, the preparation work, the meetings, all the analysis? Is it easy to forget what's going around you as well, I suppose, with the busy schedule you have?
Yeah, I think so. And I suppose that's kind of, it's also why I love it, because you're just totally invested into something. You've like championship matches week on week for 8 weeks. And, you know, once a match finishes on the Saturday, you have gym and recovery on the Sunday. So you're straight back into it. But like we're training. In the meetings, you're learning everything. There's the strength and conditioning coach. You keep kind of, I think, learning so much about yourself and about the team that I'm just really grateful for it and just really enjoying that element of it. I'm also kind of working 2 days a week in the club in sponsorship departments and stuff, so it's nice to kind of have that little break too, so it's not fully just focusing on football. Yeah,
it's great to keep your marketing experience going as well, Sinead. But going back even further with gymnastics, Irish dancing, basketball, athletics, how have you found, I suppose, the transferable skills from all those sports to AFLW?
Yeah, I think like basketball is one from I suppose Irish Cluath gone. We were I played basketball probably more than Gaelic through secondary school. Obviously not with my club, but kind of I trained maybe 4 or 5 times a week with basketball, and I think that is probably the main one that is very transferable for Gaelic and for AFLW. I know everyone's saying there's loads of similarities between AFL and football, and like there is some, but then there's other things in terms of, as you said, catching the mark. You have around 10 or 14 seconds to stop, move back, look around, where in Gaelic it's just a give and go. So the speed of the game is different from at home. And also in AFLW, you have like rotational subs like basketball. So, that's completely different from what we have. So sometimes you're on for 4 minutes and then you're taken off and then you sit down for 2 minutes and you're back on. So I think also that's different because we're used to kind of playing 60 minutes and, you're moving the whole time, where it's strange to kind of get those little breaks. And obviously the tackling, you can just fully tackle and get hits from everything, which I do like. But there are a few differences. But I do think that probably basketball is the one that I would see a huge benefit maybe from doing in secondary school and primary school with Gaelic and AFLW.
And the Demons obviously have had great wins in round 1 and round 2, but have you seen a big change in the recruitment, the different players that have come in? Obviously Lauren McGee has come over this year as well. Has the panel changed much from last year?
Yeah, we actually lost maybe around 8 players that would have been new for Melbourne AFLW, because they would have been here from the start and kept a lot of players. So that was a huge change. And there was a few girls I'm still really close to that have moved to kind of Carlton and Collingwood and Richmond. But again, there's new players that have come in and they're excellent, and Lauren is doing amazing. Like, I suppose we've only had 7 training sessions since we've been here, and Lauren's already making a claim. And it's just great to have that kind of asset of that strength that she brings in. And then also from the kind of new players that we got in the Melbourne team, a lot of them are younger and underage, have been playing since they were 8 or 9, so their skill level is exceptional, and they're really bringing you to assets to kind of what we're trying to achieve in Melbourne, to play a good brand of football.
And Sinead, you had the task of marking Katie Brennan against Richmond and definitely trying to keep her quiet. You did a great job, but is that something that happens a lot, where they would choose a player specifically that you would mark and stay with that player for the game?
Yeah, like last year I was running back, so that's kind of similar to half back, and I would have maybe had like players that I would have played. But for this one, I was actually quite funny because it was Thursday when they announced, they announced the team on the squad on Tuesday, and then they announced the team on Thursday. And we were sitting down in our backs meeting and I had my name, and it was key defender Katie Brennan. So the first one is key defender is like a cornerback, so I've never played there before. So I was just like, okay. And then I saw Katie Brennan, so that was another double whammy. And then someone knocked the door. They're like, Sinead, you need to get your COVID test. So I missed the whole meeting of what we were going through. So I just went up to my line manager, and he was just like, just play your game, and gave me a few tips. And then the girls are really good. I know one of the girls plays similar to Katie Brennan, so I marked her for the whole training session, and she was giving me good tips on what to do. So it was a bit of a shock, I suppose, to play that key defender going into that role, but I kind of just narrowed my focus in terms of how I thought I was going to play. I went home, did research, kind of see how she plays. So in my head I had 1 or 2 things I was going to do for plan A, and then plan B was going to change my position of defending if that wasn't working. And then plan C was just also accepting, it might not be my day. She might get the better of me, so someone else will have to come on to her, and then I would have to see what else I can do for the team. So I did kind of, because I was quite nervous going into it, I did kind of have those small little plans just to make sure that I was able to, still kind of stay focused and try and do my best.
And it's all those small things, I suppose, like you're saying, to do your own research, to check back. I'm sure there's a great support in the club, but it's definitely great to put in that extra time to help you feel confident on the pitch as well.
Yeah, I think so. And I also, you kind of know your own strengths too. I think it's really important to listen to what everyone's saying, but then, you have to you're the one that's going to be there. So you have to kind of have your own thought process on what you think you're going to bring to it too. So yeah, it's really good because you can just kind of get clips straight away and how they play. And they actually had a game beforehand, and I just watched, I think I always watch the previous game they played because that's the most freshest, and that's kind of where you see what they're at. But yeah, so thankfully we got the win, and like Richmond are a good kind of strong team. They're number one for long kicks there, so that was something in the back line that we really wanted to kind of focus on in negating them and kind of stopping a few of their key players.
And Sinead, for people at home, who would be the main players or the AFLW players, kind of the big names to watch out for that we'll kind of see in the coming weeks?
Yeah, I suppose from like our team, Melbourne, like Daisy Pearce is our captain, and Paxi are exceptional players. And I suppose I'd be in line with Daisy as a halfback. So she's always encouraging me, and she's amazing at the game. It's funny how her personality is very similar to Sinead Ahern. So I just think that's mad. Like, you're in a different country, you're playing a different sport, but those leadership skills and qualities are very the same with different people. So I always just think Daisy reminds me of Sinead Ahern in her application as a leader. And then I suppose for North Melbourne, they have I think 6 of their midfielders are excellent. So there's huge kind of Emma King, I think, is one that's massive that we're kind of going to be focusing on. Brianna Davey from Collingwood is excellent. She's been her disposals and what she's been doing in midfield is really exceptional. So yeah, I think there's the big names, there's so many. Each team has 1 or 2, but I think that I like Melbourne have great ones too. So it's really exciting, the way. So I hope everyone at home probably is tuning into the games and kind of gets to understand and make their own assumptions on what they think the game is and what players are good.
Yeah, well, I think everyone is really enjoying picking up the different terminologies, but I think seeing the game makes it so much easier to understand when you see it in practice, because you could read the rules all day, but I think you know that yourself, Sinead, once you play it, it really hammers it home what it is.
Yeah, sometimes I'm even what rule is that? So I think it is very hard for people to understand it. Even when I came over at the start, I was like, what rule? It is, because until you understand it, it is hard to understand. So I know I get a few texts of people being like, I don't understand it, but it's understanding the rules, and then you'll get to love the game and hopefully appreciate what we're trying to do.
And Melbourne have had a former Cavan player as their first player in the AFLW,
yeah.
Laura Drury there from Cavan. But I think it's an amazing stat, I suppose, that it's been the first time they ever had, 2 female recruits internationally, was yourself and Niamh McAvoy. Do you see that there is more of a chance, I suppose, now for more players coming out? There are 14 Irish players out there currently. Would you see that growing from now on?
I would. I suppose with the 14 of us coming over here, I think that each player is making a difference and bringing something new to a team. So I do think the appreciation of what the Irish can bring over here is something that's growing. I think Aisling Sheridan in her first game against Collingwood had, people that was great by the Irish player. I was I thought she was the best AFL player out there. She scored 2 goals. Her work rate off the ball was amazing. So I do think, we are kind of, I hope that we're, representing Ireland and our counties and our clubs well in terms of what we're doing on the pitch. But I do probably see maybe more people coming over, maybe younger players too, and staying here for a year. Lauren is on a 2-year contract, and I just can't wait to see what she's going to do out here, because watching her at training, she's just exceptional. And when she gets her opportunity to kind of, get into the team, she'll just get better and better. And I don't think anyone in midfield will be able to take her, because she's such a, determined and dogged defender. So it'll be really good to see her play.
Yeah, well, the Dubs have set the standard high, so there's definitely, she's had a good kickstart there to get over. But Sinead, you were saying that you have a bit of time yourself and Niamh and Lauren maybe to practice or to go with the skills of it. Do you have much free time after the training schedule, after the routine you're in?
Yeah, so like Monday we tried to get maybe half an hour skill set in with each other, or like in the backyard, and then on Tuesday we kind of go to the club around 3 o'clock. And how we do it in Melbourne is we have our individual skills with the manager, and then there's a little bit of a break so that you can do physio. Then we have a team meeting, and then we training, and then we have the gym. And then recovery. So it is quite a long day. We're there from maybe 3 till 10. So we got a lot kind of fitted in. I remember even sometimes now after training, I'm like, I can't believe I have to go to the gym. But then you get into the gym and you do it and it's completely fine. And then Wednesday is a day off. But I try and get some just kind of hand skills in that day. It might even just be in the back like 10 or 15 minutes just to try. Like that's one thing I think, you know, we really need to improve on is the skills, because we've missed a lot of the preseason. Thursday, I suppose we have it's a smaller day. We're kind of there at 4, and we have skills again, and then we have a team meeting, training, gym, and then another team meeting, and then Saturday's a game, and then Sunday we have quite a heavy gym session and recovery after that. So like Wednesday is our kind of day off. So again, I always kind of have a balance in my life. I think it's important, you know, to switch off and kind of do different things. So anytime I do get free time, I try to do something or go down to the beach. You know, I love playing AFLW here, but I also, you know, Australia is amazing. So I'm just trying to make the most of it and, you know, just to enjoy myself while I can. So I think it's important to kind of have that balance too.
And Sinead, in terms of recovery, have you found you've had any hard knocks, or how do you feel? How's the body feel after the games?
Yeah, well, I have a big dead leg bruise here on my leg. I won't show you. But thankfully, I've actually been okay from injuries. Like I think probably last year in AFLW, a goal of mine was to focus in on my tendinopathy, which I've kind of been dealing with maybe for 5 years in Dublin. That's always kind of been at me. So when I came over here, you know, straight away, I had like 3 gym sessions, and I kind of tailored to make sure that my hamstrings were going to be in a strong place. And thankfully they held up for Dublin, and they've been going okay. So just from that perspective, I think, yeah, I think my body's in good shape. Probably I've been quite injured for a lot of it, and at the moment I'm okay. So we'll just see how things go. But how the game is over here, you get 1 or 2 really bad injuries per game because it's so rough. So after each game, I'm like, thank God I'm not injured, or, you know, or someone on your team you just see and your heart breaks for them, because you see the effort that everyone's putting in. And, you know, those injuries, it's just part of sport. They just happen, and it's kind of, it's unfortunate. That's kind of, you know, you're there for the good and the bad parts, but it's part of the game. So just hopefully we'll be able to kind of get through it all, not having any injuries.
And speaking of getting through it all, everybody at home here is really enjoying tuning in to TG Cahir and seeing the AFLW. But is there any message you have for everyone at home, Sinead, or anything you'd like to say to them?
Yeah, I know, like, kind of speaking to my friends and family, that it's really tough with the lockdown at the moment. So I just hope everyone's okay. And I know that, I suppose, even speaking to the 14 Irish girls that are over here, we really want to represent Ireland, you know, quite well. And hopefully that we're doing that and bring some entertainment, because I know there's not much live sport on at the moment. There's rugby and stuff. So hopefully people can kind of tune in. And, you know, as you said, they need to understand the game and to appreciate it. So hopefully that, you know, we'll all kind of keep trying our best over here.
Well, Sinead, we wish you the best of luck in round 3 against North Melbourne, and hopefully 3 out of 3 for your wins and a great start to the season. Thanks a million for talking to us, Sinead.
Thank you. Thanks a million. See you. Bye. Bye.